we'll be going over the Next Gen Upgrade 5.9.1, 8.4.1 enhancements, which will be happening October 20th. This is a Zoom video, meaning we will hold questions till the end. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. We'll be answering them at the end. So first we'll start with the patient portal enhancements. This next gen upgrade will be introducing a easier, more user-friendly way to enroll patients, which is awesome. It's going to allow an email link of enrollment towards the patients once you enter the patient's email address. And here you will go ahead and enter the patient's email address, and you'll see that there will be an option to email the enrollment link. It's going to be super easy for them. All you need to press is OK, and it automatically sends that email out towards the patient, which will look very similar to what we currently have. They'll just click on the hyperlink, and from there they'll be able to create their username and password. The token number is still an option, and although it's still an option, we highly recommend against it unless the patient does not have an email address. This is to make sure with placing an email address in there will help the patient get reminders for their appointments and notifications when they have a message. So we really want to try to get that email address first, and really the email enrollment link is so easy. We do highly recommend that one to be the primary way of enrolling. Alright, so when you open up the enrollment manager window and you want to add a care manager or a dependent, you're going to see some new verbiage. Do not be alarmed or scared by it. It's a little confusing, but don't worry. What it's trying to let you know is that the patient is we're adding an enrollment manager for this patient, but they have the opportunity to later on, if they choose to, create their own profile. This is really for some of our minors who will be turning of age at a certain time. This is going to give them the opportunity to do that. One thing to note is the email address will not be modifiable from in here if you're adding a dependent or a manager. You want to go individually to each patient's enrollment window and modify that email address. Another thing to remember is, as with the current version, the age restriction is extremely important. So whenever you're adding a dependent, you'll click the Add the Dependent, you'll double click on the person, and it's going to pop up a little area where you can choose the access profile to be either a child or a parent. And this is truly going to protect our teenage population when they start to come for their reproductive health. So super important, you guys, to remember that. So if a patient is currently enrolled in another practice with the patient portal, say there's another clinic in Tucson that uses NextGen, they're using the patient portal. If they move here to our practice with El Rio and we take their email address, it's immediately going to pop up this little verbiage down here that's going to let you know that the patient currently has an account, and just all you got to do is add the email address, press OK, and automatically sends them the email enrollment, and it will connect the two accounts on their side. So super simple. This is amazing for our patients who have Pima Heart or the Arizona Urology, so they're able to have both accounts all in one spot. So definitely great for our specialists. There is a new enrollment status option that you can choose from for our patient's response. We have a decline enrollment, which we didn't have before. The decline enrollment will be for patients who absolutely do not want to use the patient portal. We still have the deferred enrollment for patients who may change their mind later. Just to give you guys a reminder and a heads up that these enrollment statuses do not count towards the meaningful use. So when they're doing the tally of all your patient portal enrollments in the end of the year, they're not going to help you out. So you want to make sure that the patient truly doesn't want the portal account before you mark these items. So now we're going to take a look into the inbox for the patient portal. So when you go into your inbox with an EHR, you're going to notice a few changes. NextGen is really trying to align the patient portal with the clinical tasking inbox and trying to make sure that the two message types function, and look the same. So you're going to see so many similarities now within the patient portal that are going to remind you of your clinical tasking, and the whole purpose is to try to get you familiar with both of them and be able to work both messages the same. The first thing you'll notice is going to be this new to column. With that column, currently that's not in production. That's going to allow you to see who the patient intended the message to go for. And this is going to be amazing for the patient or for the staff that currently is floats. So if you're working with more than one provider, you'll be able to see which provider that message was supposed to go towards, which is going to be very helpful. The next area, the next column that you're going to see that is brand new is going to be this column here that's going to use icons that you should be familiar with in the clinical tasking. The little circle icon is going to let you know whether or not a message has been accepted. The little check mark's gonna, or has, whether or not it hasn't been accepted. The check mark means that it has been accepted. And with many things in NextGen, if you hover over it, you can see that it was accepted by your coworker, and it will say who. And what accepted means is the same with clinical tasking, is that you're accepting responsibility for the message, that you're going to be the one who's working it. The patient portals now has the workflow so similar to the clinical tasking, is that when you're accepting it, you're the person working the message. So with that in mind, when we go live, you're going to want to check your inbox to see how it is set up. You want to make sure that you click off of include items accepted by others, otherwise your inbox is going to show all your coworkers' tasks or your messages. So the only item that you want checked off is going to be include read items, so it's going to show the read items that you've accepted and not that your coworkers have accepted. Alright, so now we're going to pretend like we're going to double click on a message and work on it. So at this point, when you double click on a message, you have the option to accept and reply, accept and reassign, accept and mark as complete. The accept and reply is the same as the just the reply currently. Accept and reassign is letting people know that you read the message but you weren't able to work the message, so you're going to reassign it to your coworker. Accept and mark as complete is currently as a marking complete. So next. Now there is a history section of the message letting you know whether or not as well, showing you the tracking responsibility and accountability of the message. So it's showing here that this person was able to accept the message, but they weren't able to work the message, so they put down a note saying they're not able to address this type of message, and then at that point they would release the message to another person and reassign the message to their coworker who is able to work that type of message. So the history is really nice for tracking to make sure others to see why a message would be sitting in someone's box for so long as it's going back and forth to different coworkers. So when you reassign a message, it's going to give you the different tasking teams, and you will have the ability to actually write that history message on there. So here it says that we're not able to work this type of message, reassigning to Dr. Ochoa's tasking team. That message up here is going to go into the histories comments, giving you that accountability log. So now we're going to go into the EHR enhancements. So for EHR enhancements, there's a lot of information that's been added for the patient information bar. Right here in the appointments badge, there's new information that is going to be living in there. And then there is a brand new hyperlink for the call log, which is going to have a call summary. So with the appointment badge, when you hover over the badge, it will show you the previous 2 appointments and the upcoming 2 appointments. The upcoming will always be in blue to show you that those appointments have not yet been capped. So here you can see that those 2 future appointments and 2 past appointments. So now with the call log, the new hyperlink up here, when you click on it, it's going to have all the telephone calls that have been recently made, or actually all of the telephone calls. You're going to have an option to scroll through them. So say if a patient's left a lot of messages, but normally we would go through the encounters over here and pop open each one trying to find those message unless they were clearly marked message. This is giving you an easier view to see all the messages in one spot. It's giving you the date next to them and giving you who sent the message along with the message type. And so this will really help patients who've been calling trying to get a hold of somebody, and you're able to go through really quickly and view all the messages. So now we're going to cover the PM enhancements. The PN enhancements, the only major thing that's happened is RTS has gotten a new improved facelift. So it has the ability to search for multiple insurances, search the eligibility inquiry for multiple insurances all at once. So this is really hoping to save time for anyone who's checking eligibility inquiries. So any of the insurance verification specialists, the DORs or DOSs and the MORs, this really is going to be for you guys. So you will check the eligibility the same way as you would be currently. There's several different areas. Like for this one, we're going to say we're going to start in the appointment book. And from the appointment book, you would right click, which will give you the bottom option of eligibility inquiry. You would go ahead and hit submit request. When it pops up, you're going to have the ability to check more than one payer at the time. So if this person had 5 payers, you'd be able to do the little check mark on all 5. Right here for the requesting physician, it's still going to be that ER, AZ, NGTS. Afterwards, you're just going to hit the submit. And once you hit submit, you're going to see it's going to think for a minute, and it'll pop up the results for all of the pairs that you just selected. So for this particular patient, we had 3 pairs. With these 3 pairs across the top, you're going to have all these tabs. When you click on the individual tabs, you'll see the summary of whether or not the insurance is active or inactive. You'll also be able to view detailed information within there. If you needed to, you can click the history button and it will give you the detailed history. The little plus sign will allow you to run the eligibility inquiry all over again. Okay, let's get started and go over some questions.